Welcome to another day in the Matrix, and I hope you're all doing amazing wherever you are in this simulation. We have a lot to cover in today's video, but I want to kick this one off with sharing that my outlook for the end of February was absolutely a miscalculation, with my expectation of us breaking through the horizontal trading range that we were trapped in for a few weeks, followed by a push higher. We in fact broke down to fill this zone between 80 to 90K, which we're actively trading within as I record this video. So now that Bitcoin has broke below this support, bringing most of the altcoin market down with it, the big question is this bull run over? So that's the question we're going to answer and what we're going to focus on primarily in today's video. So if you're new here at Waters Above, we're empowering you to unlock your infinite potential with esoteric investing by combining Gematria, Numerology, and Astrology with technical analysis to understand these markets and become a more profitable investor. Now let's take the clear pill. And before we get into this chart I have here on the screen, let's just quickly address the title of today's video, which mentions to get ready for March 7th. So perhaps some of you are aware of this already, but for those that aren't in the know, on Friday, March 7th, there will be a crypto summit at the White House to discuss the potential launch of a U.S. strategic crypto reserve, with Trump's handlers on Truth Social revealing that it would include XRP, Cardano, Solana, as well as Bitcoin and Ethereum. And of course, this post is what led to this pump and dump that we saw between March 2nd and March 3rd this past Sunday and Monday. Many of you already know all about this. But this is actually very important from an esoteric perspective because March 3rd actually leaves 303 days left in the year. In the rules of numerology, you remove the 0, so 303 becomes 33. And of course, we have this happening on the Gregorian date of March 3rd. This would be your 3-3 date. So we have this number 33, which is the master number of transmutation, essentially altering something from one form to another. And what makes this even more symbolic is the fact that March 3rd, the 3-3 date that leaves 303 days left in the year, is 33 days before April 5th. And what's significant about April 5th? It's the birthday of the mythological archetype that we call Satoshi Nakamoto, which, by the way, will be turning 50 years old on this exact date in the Chinese year of the snake. And when you go to the Gematria, we have snake giving you 50, tied to Satoshi's age. And 50 is the number tied to biblical jubilee. And guess what this year of 2025 is? It's the year of the Vatican's Jubilee, also called the Catholic Jubilee. And the last significant Catholic Jubilee that we had was the true 50-year cycle in their system for the Vatican in the Gregorian year of 2000. That was the year of the dot-com bubble peak and when it started to burst. So just keep that in mind because there is something significant tied to that timeline, with the year of 2001 being the year of the snake, which the markets had one final bullish move up into the month of May before continuing that crash for the remainder of that year. And guess where that crash initiated? Well, it was a pullback into March. So that kind of actually tells us that there could be a bullish April on the horizon if we were to continue to slide down in the short term. But we're going to be covering many other things today. I'm just letting you know some of my findings from my recent podcast I just released this Sunday over on my Mastermind community Patreon. But getting back to this, I just want you to keep May in mind for this year in 2025. And we'll see how I'm synchronizing everything here together right now. The numerology, Gematria, the Chinese zodiac system, and these more esoteric calendrical systems. But getting back to this decode, just be aware that this number 33 is symbolic of changing from one state to another state. And I believe this whole 33 days before this recent Sunday was part of their ritual they're performing right now. And some of you probably remember the 33rd day of this year, February 2nd. That was also a significant move for the crypto market. So there's definitely something going on here. Now, Getting back to this, of course, we can all see that this number 33 has been showing up a lot lately for us, specifically in crypto, when we have XRP. Actually, the highest it was able to reach recently was the $3.30 zone. Again, tied to the alchemy of transmutation. Now, I want you to take 33 and double it. So we have 33 plus 33. And what do you get? 66. And a moment ago, we were talking about this upcoming Friday, which is March 7th, the date of this crypto summit. And guess what March 7th is? The 66th day of this year. And believe it or not, if we were to check back at the last time that XRP was trading at 66 cents, it was this date right here, November 13th. And funny enough, if you were to add 66 days to this particular date, you're going to end up around our top. It's pretty wild. Actually, if you were to include the end date to this specific time frame, I'm just going to type in 11/13 of last year, and we're going to bring this over 66 days, and it's going to be January 17th. This was actually a date that XRP traded at $3.30, the 33, which, as you're aware, 33 plus 33 is 66. These are 66 days apart from the day that XRP last traded at 66 cents. Perfectly synchronizing to the date and the price. Absolutely mind-blowing how this code runs through these markets. So we could consider taking from March 7th of this year, which is the 66th day of this particular year. And if we were to add 66 days to that, it would put us somewhere into May. So you can keep this in mind. This particular May timeframe could be something significant there. As I've been finding lately in my work, everything for May has been very significant for this particular year. As we're in tropical Taurus, and in sidereal, the sun moves into Taurus around May 15th. Taurus is the bull. And if you saw my recent Red Pill podcast, for anyone who's over there on Patreon, I talked a lot about this specific connection to this upcoming May, which I kind of brought up a moment ago. So if you're interested in my weekly market wrap-up and more frequent updates going on behind the scenes, you can join our community of like-minded, conscious investors over at patreon.com/watersabove with our Mastermind community membership, which includes private Discord access, and you'll also get live updates whenever I buy or sell my investments. So if you're interested in that, the link is in the description and in the pinned comment below. So now that we've addressed the title of today's video, and you can now see the significance of this specific code that's been running through this market as of this year, it's also important for us to address the fact that this date of March 7th is actually 1 week before our upcoming total lunar eclipse. And this is a very important lunar eclipse because it's the start of our lunar cycle, which, interestingly enough, March 14th is the 73rd day of this year, and internationally you'd write March 7th as 7-3. So we have some synchronicity there as well. And 73 is the 21st prime number. And this number 21 comes back to Saturn, which we talk about a lot on this channel because Saturn is Father Time, aka Father Blockchain. Remember, Saturn worship is all about the black cube. That's the blockchain. You'll also see that a lot of cryptocurrency companies use Saturnian imagery in all of their logos, notably Chainlink. We see it with XLM, even in XRP. So getting back to this, we have the 21 code. We just talked about the number 73, the 21 code. And then this all coming back to Satoshi Nakamoto, who is Saturn in this market. So we have Satoshi Nakamoto giving you this 55 code in multiple ciphers, and that 55 ties into March 7th, the day of this White House Crypto Summit. We have the 55 here in the double-digit date numerology. This is actually my favorite form of date numerology, by the way, for decoding markets specifically. So now that we've started to bring up this eclipse, I just want to go back here to consider how everything went down into our first lunar eclipse of the start of our lunar cycle back in 2021. We had this major drop into eclipse season, and we actually can see that that's how it played out this time as well. We could clearly see that Bitcoin and most of the altcoin market crashed into this eclipse. And this is information I actually shared to anticipate over a year ago. And the reason I went against my own teachings and miscalculated how February would play out in doing so was because, one, we didn't have any significant reversal in Bitcoin dominance and no actual alt season. At least not the type of alt season that we got back in 2017 or 2021. So we were wrong about the short-term analysis and what happened in February. Were we wrong about the eclipse energy? No, the proof is in the charts now. And at least we're admitting here the reason why we didn't take action accordingly, because the alt market was severely underperforming in comparison to what we saw Bitcoin doing. And it's even more noticeable now when we look at Ethereum and Ethereum dominance. So the short-term analysis for February, absolutely 100% wrong in that case. And I shared that vulnerably in the first 10 seconds of today's video. So now that we've had this major downside move recently, exactly 2 weeks before our upcoming eclipse, well, how is Bitcoin behaving leading into the total lunar eclipse of May of 2021? We could actually see that about 1 week before we had our largest part of the correction, chopping around it, and then we just actually held sideways for about a month or two after before pivoting and continuing much higher from the correction, considering everything that I just explained. So we had a major downside move exactly 1 week before the eclipse this time around. I'm just going to quickly go over here, and you can see this time around, actually 2 weeks, excuse me. So 1 week before in the last example, 2 weeks before in this example. I know this is a lot of information to take in. I know it's stuff that for some, you've heard me talking about it now pretty much all year, and you heard me talk about it most of last year. But now that we're here, you know, it's very interesting to watch it all play out the way that it has. But it is fascinating how we did have this move, and the fact that March 7th is 1 week before the eclipse. Just like in the last lunar cycle, we crashed 1 week exactly before the eclipse. That is very sketchy, the fact that we have this crypto summit on that date. Now, I showed you the significance of that date already. A big question is our crash already priced in? Well, of course, that would be the bullish case scenario, and we'll get to that in a moment. Now, we all have to admit, at this point, it just feels like with week after week after week of bearish events isolated to the crypto market and watching everything flip from extreme greed to extreme fear. And now we have incredibly low levels when it comes to that fear and greed index. Seeing levels that we haven't seen since the FTX crash or the C19 crash. It's just getting exhausting at this point to determine how this specific Friday can play out, because it's been a yo-yo. The market maker knows that the whole world is watching. Literally yesterday, people were drooling over their keyboard waiting for Trump to say the word crypto during his Congress speech. It's just boring at this point how addicted everyone is to this man's act. Now, I'm not salty here, I'm just being honest. As an actual investor who's been in this market for some time, it's only been about what Trump wants and does. It's kind of the way it was with Elon in the last cycle, actually. Every time he tweeted, the market moved, especially Doge, Shiba, and I'm sure many of you remember that. And there was a point where that got kind of exhausting, how the whole market was kind of ritualizing this one person. And moving on, the market maker knows everyone will be waiting around this exact moment. The whales, aka the exchanges, which some of the main ones will actually be showing up to this crypto summit, by the way. These exchanges are in on exactly how this will all go down, because they're prepping for epic volatility. And you should too. So if you have a weak stomach, then from 1:30 to 5, or honestly until the crypto market closes, which is at 7 p.m. Eastern time on Friday, March 7th, don't even look at the charts or your portfolios. Thank me later. And for those who want to try being fancy and leverage trade this event, good luck, but not something I'd advise, that's for sure. Not financial advice, of course. So if you enjoy the crypto casino, have fun, but it's just not something I would recommend at this time. And the fact they're setting up this event at this time, on this day, on a Friday, when they'll be wrapping it up after the traditional markets close off their weekly candle, that is sinister. Because this means It'll be another crazy weekend where crypto trades alone, with it being the main focus, which is what we've been having every single week this whole year. Every time the weekend rolls around, you see what happens. Now, does this mean I'm bearish? Well, Bitcoin just had a 28% correction. Its seventh 20% correction this cycle, all of which were triggered by eclipses. And the fact we still haven't seen Bitcoin dominance break down, and we're also seeing XRP hold the $2.50 range like a champion, to me, the recent moves in this crypto market since Trump's inauguration reek of manipulation. And they aren't hiding it anymore. It's so blatant. It's so different than the way it was back in the 2020 cycle, for sure. So now most retail are shaken out. The market maker has accomplished their goal, driving up a greed-based sentiment after the election and then pushing us into extreme fear after the inauguration, all while blaming things that Trump said he would do when he was gonna become president. He's literally just doing all the same things he said he would do when he was running, which is why everyone voted for him. Yet now that he's implementing these policies, everything's suddenly opposite. Like, we didn't expect this, the tariffs and everything. Like, you see how it's such a clown world? Anyways, let's get to this specific chart that we have here and the setup for the short term. Below, we have a Wyckoff reaccumulation schematic, which really stands out to me because of the second half of phase B, which it's called Creek in Wyckoff method. And this is a very deceiving setup, because what we have here is initially it looks like a bull flag, and then the flag continues to extend out further than the flag pole. And then once it reaches back at this macro support level, we have this violent shakeout to the downside, which is called our spring. And I believe this setup needs to be considered right now, given it's about time we have some bullish energy return to this crypto market after the sentiment has been completely reset. So this schematic would be what I believe the most bullish case scenario for the crypto market. And in regards to where we're currently at in the schematic, it would be the test, which would be confirmed with multiple days trading above the 94K zone, essentially the same level of the recent pump and dump that we saw between March 2nd and March 3rd. So if Bitcoin can reclaim this 95K zone, then we'd look for this LPS, which would be a push past into this phase C, into phase D, and it would actually start accelerating from there, because the speed of the way this move could happen is fairly quick, given the lows are in for our pre-lunar eclipse crash that we just saw recently. We can actually see a full recovery into this jump across the creek within this month of March. Now, what about the bearish case scenario? Well, first, let's start off with saying that we usually don't enter a prolonged bear market unless we get a more elusive and slightly boring bull trap. For example, back in April-May of 2021, after Bitcoin topped on April 14th, 2021, let me show you actually, there was a 27% correction. We're talking about this phase right here. So from April top to this pullback, it was about 27.5%. Happened fairly quickly in about 11 days. And then we had this recovery right here over the following 2 weeks. This is very important to see how this all went down, because when we pull a fib here, you'd see that it was around our 702 fib level. And then this turned into a dead cat bounce, which is obviously what we don't want, because this signaled much more of a correction for the altcoins. Now, interestingly enough, the current fib pull from our local high that we have down to the swing low over here that we initiated back at the end of the month of February, you could see that our 702 fib in this case is exactly 100K. Now, not only is this interesting because it's the flat psychological level of 100K, but it's also above the resistance that Bitcoin actually was dealing with for those 2 weeks before we had the larger correction we experienced. So if we were to reclaim that level, it would be incredibly elusive. So if Bitcoin were to reclaim 100K on a daily close, it would signal a technical reversal is in the works, and it would look like the spike up that we actually see during the LPS right there, if we were to compare where we're at according to this Wyckoff reaccumulation schematic. So it's an incredibly difficult call when it comes to how you should respond to this move. And the fact that we have this significant exoteric event coming up on March 7th added to the mix, and makes everything even more difficult to navigate. Then you add the fact that it's eclipse season right around the corner. This is wild energy we're dealing with. So does this upcoming crypto summit feel like hopium? A little bit, when we look at the charts and when we kind of lay everything out and analyze how it's going. It sort of feels like we need a Hail Mary pass to be caught in the final moments of the game and for it to be a touchdown. That's what this feels like right now. But does this recent correction in Bitcoin signal that the bull run is over and the top is in? Well, if you've studied what Bitcoin has done in the past, then you know a 28% correction is kind of standard for Bitcoin in a bull run. And again, I'm not saying this to give you hopium, this is just the facts. And this current structure that Bitcoin has built all throughout the year of 2023 and 2024, it's actually the healthiest market structure that we've seen in the Bitcoin chart in any cycle, given we just keep stair-stepping up over and over again with 6 to 8 month consolidations, holding support, building stronger support, and then heading higher. And the fact Bitcoin dominance is also doing something it's never done before. Let me quickly check in with that chart to just show you what I mean by this. When I say it's never been done before, the structure is pretty wild, the way that it's following this parallel channel to the upside. And every time it reaches the resistance of this, we get a drop down to the bottom of the channel. And it's just been doing this now for pretty much all throughout Q1 of 2023. Here we are in Q1 March of 2025. Bitcoin dominance has never done something like this before. When you look at the all-time chart, let me back up to the 5-day, you'll see what I mean. Never have we done something like this for this prolonged period of a time. Of course, now we have institutional involvement, which is making things quite different. So we were guessing eventually that things would change. This environment's obviously changing a lot, and there's a lot more adoption on the way. We all know this, but we're looking at this from a very technical perspective right now, and we're wondering, is the bull run over, and are we just not going to get an alt season at all? That's what everyone wants to know. So it makes me feel like we're moving into a type of bull run where Bitcoin just continues to do what it did in 2023 and last year in 2024 with its price. And in that case, anyone who didn't take advantage of accumulating XRP, XLM, HBAR, XDC, and the other projects associated with that basket, and now I guess potentially Cardano, well, those are the altcoin investors that didn't invest in those coins. They are likely feeling the most pain right now. And perhaps this upcoming crypto summit is not hopium, and it's actually just revealing what many of us waited for years and anticipated to be implemented eventually in this new Aquarian economy. Of course, that'd be great for our portfolios, especially since XRP and Bitcoin are my biggest positions, and I'm well in the green since accumulating in the prior bear market. But for those investors out there that got distracted by the shiny objects and gave all of their hard-earned money away to the memery going on the Solana blockchain and the nonsense on Pump Fund, well, I hope you learned your lesson and you could take this as an opportunity to grow and actually start developing the skills to become a true investor instead of gambling away everything on pump and dumps. I'm just giving you the red pill right now. Now, since I brought up XRP a moment ago, let's actually head over to the XRP chart and recap where we're at right now and see how this is playing out moving into the upcoming weekend. Of course, we have this event happening on a Friday. I'm going to go to the daily chart, which, by the way, even though my last video didn't play out how I anticipated, XRP is still technically trading at a higher price than it was when I was filming my last video, which means XRP is holding up incredibly during all this market volatility recently. And I'm sure many of us here that follow my overall portfolio, you know that it's felt really good to be mostly heavy in Bitcoin and XRP right now. Again, this isn't a flex. It's just to say that with the way things have been going, regardless if the calls are right or wrong, the general consensus here is that most Bitcoin and XRP investors who are accumulating over the past year or 2 years or 3 years are heavily in the green right now. So just kind of coming back to the overall investment thesis here. When you're playing venture capital, There's a reason to keep those positions at 1%, 2%, 3% max, and to keep your portfolio centered in stuff that you know will be part of the Aquarian economy, which is what this channel's been focused on since the day I launched. Which, by the way, it's the 4-year anniversary, like 2 days ago, of our channel. If anyone watches my first video, we were talking about XRP. So, again, pretty wild to see how everything has developed over the past 4 years. Here today, seeing a $2.50 XRP, it's a beautiful thing. Now, just to wrap this one up, we can actually see that as of today, XRP is about almost 100 days straight of XRP closing daily candles above $2. Compared to that of 2017 and early 2018, you'll see how that's a very technical sign of strength in the macro. So in this chart, we have a fractal I have overlaid, and this fractal I shared almost a month ago with our Mastermind community over on Patreon, and it's actually still playing out. So for those that want to know where I got this fractal from, it's from late January through April of 2021. Note, we're now in the month of March, so the time of the year this fractal is also in alignment with where we're at now, as well as it was right after a president was inaugurated, our good old pal Sleepy Joe. Now, the reason I isolated this fractal specifically is because of the energy of the pump that we had right here, followed by the grind up into this micro top, and then the way it corrects. Like if I zoom in, you could see this like J-curve kind of vibe. This is actually similar to the recent correction that we had in the beginning of February. So if I was to zoom in right here, obviously the fractal is overlaid and you could see how this correction is forming, how this W pattern is forming, and then also the way that we're grinding up now into a recovery phase. So if the timing of this was accurate and this was to play out exactly this way, it actually shows XRP breaking out bullish as early as next weekend. Now, if this crypto summit doesn't turn out to be a complete sham and Trump actually starts the process of moving forward with this US strategic crypto reserve, which of course would also need to be passed by Congress, well, if he moves forward with this and there's no whale interference shorting this market like it did back on March 3rd, then the time between Trump making this call and whenever Congress votes on this could be absolutely wild for XRP. And of course, in that case, I'd expect a $4 XRP very soon, especially if that was coupled with the SEC dropping their case against Ripple, which if you're in the know, you've been seeing a lot of that happening lately. A lot of these cases have been dropped. Now, you all know my take on the Ripple versus SEC case. It's a huge distraction, but right now we have Bitcoin in price discovery and we do not have XRP in price discovery. This was all done on purpose for this specific timing of this move that Trump's about to do. So we do have exoteric things at play. We absolutely have esoteric things at play. I'm just saying that if the SEC was to drop the Ripple case, that would bring even more FOMO into this move. Hence, it would go much higher than where we've topped recently. It's kind of the method to my madness here. So of course, that'd be glorious if that was to play out this way. And I'll be transparent and say, which many of you know already, if this is to play out in the short term, I'd definitely be using this opportunity to de-risk, because this specific year, the year of the snake, if I could summarize it into a single phrase, this is the year where everything is too good to be true. So if it sounds good, it's too good to be true, and you need to be careful. Meaning any chance you have to secure your profits, do not sleep on it, especially if you absolutely need the money, because the layoffs are here and they're committed to making the USA specifically the AI capital of the world. You heard the man say it himself, which means more robotics being utilized, less humans in the workforce, and the incoming normalization of humanoid robots. It is what it is, which is exactly why I dedicated this year of 2025 to launching Waters Above University, where I'm teaching how to create your business, to be prepared for the inevitable that's to come soon to our world stage. So if you're interested in joining us over there at Waters Above University, I will be reopening enrollment in April, and I'm looking forward to you joining us over there, because there's going to be so many incredible businesses and business partnerships formed over there in our university during this year. It's truly amazing to see what we're doing over there. So to wrap up our analysis, you should be fully prepared for this upcoming Friday event. Expect insane volatility, and with us moving into eclipse season, that makes the volatility even more intense. And based on what I'm seeing in the charts now, it does not feel like the true top is in. And we should have at least another bullish phase for this market midway through this year latest, which is a huge reason why I put emphasis on the month of August in my crypto decoding blueprint I released last June. That was over 9 months ago, when I revealed my double peak cycle theory, which I'll talk about more in future videos, of course, especially if we start seeing a further breakout. Considering that we have another total lunar eclipse in early September based on how our last lunar cycle started, we actually dropped into the first lunar eclipse like we just did, and then we recovered into our second lunar eclipse of our lunar cycle before another dramatic correction. So that aligns with the month of August this year. And given that many altcoins across the board have already had 60 to 70% corrections from their respective tops back at either the end of the year of 2024 and moving into Trump's inauguration at the beginning of the year, such as Cardano, for example, we have right here, it has had a full 60% correction. And then it's recovered all in just a couple days off of the announcement of this strategic crypto reserve. This is kind of the way recoveries and continuations work. So our last cycle had several 60 to 70% mid-cycle corrections for most altcoins on the way up into our true alt season as well. We also have Total 2 looking very good, hitting the golden pocket on this larger mid-cycle correction, backtesting the 618 fib, and holding higher lows in the structure, as well as recent higher highs, maintaining an uptrend. And naturally, the same goes for Total 3, which I really like this chart right here. I'm going to be going over that more this upcoming weekend in my Red Pill podcast. So all in all, I'm actually optimistic, especially with all the isolated negative events for crypto and how it's faced those over the past couple months. And besides the meme coin drama, we did not experience a truly euphoric end of the cycle rally, at least not the euphoria we seen in the end of 2017 or early 2021. So let's see how this March 7th event plays out. And remember, all eyes will be on crypto during this moment. So whatever happens, do not react emotionally to what's going on. Stay stoic, keep your emotions on the sidelines. And if you don't have an exit strategy prepared, then you better start working on one, because this is not the time to not have a plan to follow, especially if you absolutely need the money in the short term, or if you made the mistake of over-investing and overexposing yourself to this market during these volatile times. So that's it for today's video. And on Sunday, March 9th, I'll be following up on this White House Crypto Summit in my new Red Pill podcast, which is available for Patreon supporters of our Mastermind community at patreon.com/watersabove. So I'll be catching some of you over there this Sunday, and I'm wishing you all an amazing rest of your day in the Matrix. Much love.